Hello, everybody. My name's James. Welcome to Planet FPL does Euro 2024. And Suji's busy today packing up clothes and shit in cardboard boxes, preparing for his move to Portugal. And Clayton's also otherwise engaged because he's too much of a social bloke. So I've got someone in who's also a social bloke. It's Angus McPhail. How are you, Angus?
I'm very well, thank you, James. How are you?
I'm good, mate. People are prepared to know you're a Scotsman, and that's a big, thick Scottish accent you have, mate.
Yeah, I did listen to the pod with Surgeon to sort of ready to defend my Scottish credentials. Um, yeah, obviously, grown up away from Scotland, but was born in Scotland, Scottish family, Scotland fan for as long as I can remember. Um, yeah, it's just the accent that gives me away a little bit.
But by virtue of that, are you in the camp of I hope England lose today, does it not run that deep for you?
It doesn't tend to. It's more I'm not sort of anti-England in terms of the actual team or whatever. The only reason I sort of enjoy England losing is watching people lose their minds rather than sort of really wanting them to lose.
Yeah, I saw some. I think Paddy Power were doing some stuff yesterday where they were interviewing Scotland fans, saying like, "Would you settle for England win the tournament if you get out the group?" And obviously, every Scotsman's going like, "No, are you
No,
joking?"
no,
And it
no,
was like, "What about if it's
no.
a Scotland semi-final?" It's like, "No, still,
No.
no, no, no way at all." For those who don't know you, Angus, who are you?
So I am, well, I guess the main thing for me to sort of plug is I'm one half now of the EFL Fantasy Podcast, covering Gaffer. Um, we're doing sort of Euros content as well, but it's primarily the Championship fantasy game, and uh, in a better way than people will associate this Super League. It's which is just the top four teams from the big five European leagues. It's not some a precursor to some breakaway league. Um, as suggested by sort of my birth, I was born into being a Rangers fan. I had no choice in the matter. It's sort of the first thing that was in my life, basically. I'm also a long-time Arsenal fan, which put those two things together.
Boo!
It makes total sense that I hosted a championship podcast.
Yes, yes. Rangers, Arsenal, Scotland. What should I do with my life? I know I'll have a podcast focused on the fantasy football game and the championship. Yeah. I'll take it you're playing the Euro version at the moment, obviously.
Yeah.
How's it going?
Very well because I played triple triple, which is obviously three triple captains on Gundogan and Musiala uh, this week.
Oh, nice.
I
Who's the other one?
Romelu Lukaku. So I'm off to a very nice start this week.
Good stuff for those playing the Gaffer game, whether it's now or obviously for the championship season. Very much recommend giving the guys a listen. What's the Twitter handle? At EFL underscore fantasy, is it?
Yeah,
Yeah,
that's the one.
good stuff. How's the Euro fantasy, the official game, going for you, mate?
It's been a bit mixed. I think I had 51 points in match day one. I captained Verts on the first day and I actually stuck on it. It turns out mentally twisting off a double digit return is easier said than done. I was sort of like, yeah, gonna twist off it. And then every time I was like, I'm not sure.
Do you think that was partly because the Saturday choices were a little bit uninspiring?
I think so, because I sort of
Yeah,
looked at it and I was like, oh, I want to captain Lukaku, but if I'm going to do that, I might as well twist on Saturday. And then Saturday rolled around and I was like, I don't want to do that. And then it just
yeah.
became harder and harder as it went along to actually move off it.
Uh,
Um,
and
yeah,
how's it going so far this week? What did you do? So you're not on any chips or anything like that now, are you?
no. So I am planning on Limitless in three and um,
Wildcard
wildcard and
quarterfinal, same.
quarterfinal. Yeah.
Yeah.
So I um, got rid of, I'd punted Frimpong in week one. So I got rid of him. Um, and I
I
got rid of Sudakov as well.
oh God, yeah, that was a punt that didn't look great in in hindsight. People might be thinking so far that you and I started with the same team. That's not quite the case because you just sent me a screenshot of your team and I see triple Italian defense there. That's wishful thinking for tonight, isn't it?
Um, Potentially, although after yesterday's game, I think there's a decent chance you can put the 0-0 in
Yeah, we've
from
both got a
those
sneaky
two.
of that. Yeah. The two Croatian lads have done well for you as well, haven't they?
Yeah, and I was sort of skeptical of them, but I was like, oh well, what else am I going to do? I didn't love anything else. I was like, oh yeah, I put Croatia in there. Um, so I went with Juranovic and Modric. I mean, it could have been worse. I could have gone with Maya, getting hooked at half time, but it didn't go that much better with three each from them.
Yeah, I must confess that yesterday, in the hour up to deadline, Suj and Clates were both in my ear looking for punts for match day too. Clates was looking for a midfield punt under 7.5. And I was like, I go with Maya, mate. Yeah, we see the team is definitely playing offensive position, basically playing as a right-sided forward. Great. And Suj was looking for a forward because I think he was trying to force Jude Bellingham in, who I think was under 7.5. And we were going through a list of names and they were all pretty uninspiring. He'd kind of maybe dropped on Sesko of Slovenia. And I said, and what about Petkovic? Like he's in the team, we can see it and stuff. He's like, who are they playing? You know, but so just like it's like Albania's
Yeah.
like, yeah, I'll go for that. Yeah, he went off just before they scored the two goals as well. So absolute disaster. That said, Suj is very much looking at getting his revenge on me this week, I think, after I very much took the piss out of him for his triple Germany defense last week, which obviously calamitously fell apart because of a world-class goal from your Scotland, Angus.
Yeah.
He's got it locked in this week, hasn't he? And obviously in return, I've got Wirtz's 1 point and Havertz 1 point,
Yeah.
both sub just before 60 minutes. What is that about? We'll come back and we'll talk about Germany in a bit. What I decided to do was a little bit different to kind of what I'd had planned, actually, from the names I mentioned on the pod yesterday. So I did sell Frimpong and Lunin because I felt they were my two biggest problems. I went for Patrick Pence, the Austrian goalkeeper, in goal. The fact that it was 4.0 was kind of irrelevant to me. It was going through the games and sitting down looking at who I kind of fancied for a clean sheet this week. And that was the one that became affordable once I decided I wanted to go for Teo Hernandez. Hernandez would have gone in for me from the start, but there was a doubt about him. And I went for Jules Koundé instead. And I kept looking at the Netherlands game and thinking, I'm off put by that. But I also liked the idea that that give me a different captaincy and a potential haul on Friday if Jude blanks for me today, because obviously I went for Havertz captain again yesterday, didn't I? So that's already moved on to Jude. So that was the clincher for me. And ironically, the other ones I'd have been considering was Vardiel. That went well. Manuel Akanji. That went well. Probably Trent. And then it was Hernandez, but it was the possibility for captaincy on Friday influenced the decision to go for Hernandez for me. I do at least have the 10-pointer from Maximilian Mittelstadt. But so does everybody else, don't they, Angus?
Yeah, I mean, I know overall in the game, I was shocked to learn yesterday he's only 22% owned, but
Have you seen the
most
team
people
without him?
no, and
No,
that's the
not
thing.
many. No, and I think that showed yesterday why he was the German defender of choice, of obviously his assist for Gundogan. Um, Captain for you today?
Um, Probably Kane. Um,
What's your
I,
options?
it's Kane or my three Italian defenders.
I think you're
So
going
as much
Harry,
as I
mate.
think it could be
No,
0-0,
you
I'm
are
I'm
going with
still
Harry
going
though.
Kane. Yeah.
Yeah, I think so. How do you think England get on today?
I think I have some questions about Denmark. I think it will be another probably challenging game, but I'd expect England to come through it.
Yeah, I don't think I've said I don't think the Danes were as strong as they were for the previous European Championship, a bad World Cup. I'm just intrigued if they might be inspired by what Serbia did to try and go man to man over the pitch against England. I don't know if they've got the personnel to quite do it, and I think the game might follow more of a pattern of how the first half was for England against Serbia, but I would also caveat that by saying they're more dangerous in terms of the pace they've got on transition and that. So yeah, I don't think it will be inspiring, but yeah, I think we'll probably edge it. We're obviously going to have a big chat about Scotland following the game last night, but let's first talk the other two games that happened yesterday. And I hope you can fill some of the blanks for me, Angus, from the Croatia Albania game. So I watched the first half at work. I thought, yeah, this is pretty handy from Albania again. Croatia are massively in trouble. Went to pick Harry up from school. Pickup time's 25 past 3. Sat outside the school for all of the second half, watching the game on my phone and killing my mobile data. And walked out to school with him and checked the score, and Croatia winning 2-1 like 5 minutes later. So that was perfect for me. What did I miss? What happened to Albania in that little period, Angus?
It was tough to say. I think that there was the one very, very unfortunate own goal. I think it's the second one where it comes out, sort of hits the Albanian player and goes in. But I think part of it for Croatia was actually just a couple of the changes they made actually made a big difference. I think it was after Budimir came on. He made a big difference. I think he set up their first goal. He came on for Petkovic. And I think that helped. And I think it was only about 4 minutes afterwards he set up the opener for Kramaric. So I think it was mainly about sort of those changes coming together. I think it was almost the first touch for Kramaric when he scored. Oh no, sorry, it felt like the first touch. That was one thing. But yeah, it just sort of a bit of luck, a bit of a change, and one of the shots they had finally going in.
I mean, unfortunately the Croatian second goal was pretty comical. You have to say, I mean, I was only surprised when I looked at the score 5 minutes later to see Croatia were winning 2-1. But I wouldn't have been if I'd looked at full time and just seen, okay, Croatia had gone on to win 2-1, because they were getting so deep in that second half, Albania, that whenever they tried to play out the second half, they couldn't. Whereas in the first half, they did it really successfully. And they, to be fair, they were really unlucky not to be a couple up at half time, actually.
Yeah, definitely. I think they were, and yeah, I think they possibly tried to sit on it slightly too much.
So I went to the park with Harry and tried to watch the rest of the game on my phone, and then realized I was being a really, really bad parent. So didn't bother. I have since seen Andros Townsend's absolutely outstanding fluffing of his lines when Albania equalised on commentary. I think he's trying to pronounce the name of Berat Jamitsi, the Albanian centre back. Do you know what I'm talking about here, Angus? He just starts bumbling into Mitty shitty. Yeah. He just literally says shitty on the commentary, doesn't he? But was he even involved in the attack? I don't think he even was. I think he just saw him in the celebrations afterwards and was like, "Let me look at my notes. Oh, that's the guy I want. Yeah, he's there. Yeah, that's a bit shitty." Or was he just trying to describe Croatia's defending after they got in front?
Probably a bit of both. I think he saw one of the players. He actually knew who it was. He just then sort of got his name wrong. But yeah, he might as well have been saying that about the Croatian defending as well. I mean, it's better than Jermaine Genius on the Georgia game, who just chopped the first half of everyone's name off. But
good old JJ. What would you say to this kind of subscribed opinion that a lot of people have, that this is one tournament too far for Croatia?
I think it's probably correct. I think there's probably too many that are still sort of hanging on, that have been in the team for a while. Not saying that they all need to be kicked out the door, but like when we at this point, when you're still going with a midfield of Kovacic, Brozovic, and Modric, obviously like Rakitic has moved on, but the others are all still there. There hasn't, like, I mean, Perisic started yesterday as well. Like,
there's some great crosses in though, Angus.
Yeah, but when it's sort of 2024 and it's still like, you look at the starting lineup and it's Perisic, Modric, Brozovic, it's sort of like, okay, you'd like to see a little bit more of a refresh going on here, and I think it's caught up with them a little bit.
Yeah, I think so, obviously, and I think particularly like Kovacic and Brozovic, I think are in really early 30s. I think Brozovic is 31. I'm sure I heard on commentary Kovacic just turned 30, but the king of it always is towards the end now with
Yeah,
Luka, who's been one of the great midfielders, certainly of this generation. Is he 38 now? Is he? He's not
I
playing
think so.
regularly, and they're still very much relying on him to be a 90-minute player as well. I assume, Angus, on Limitless, you won't be looking at any Croatia or Albania players in Matchday
No,
3.
no, I think they're the ones that you'll probably be looking to target more. I mean, particularly Croatia with attacking players at this point might be the way you're looking.
Can you see? I mean, they're obviously both on 1 point. Spain and Italy on 3. I don't see Italy winning tonight. I
No,
probably if there was to be a winner, I'd probably fancy it would be Spain more than Italy. Obviously, I guess Italy, if they do get beat tonight, will be really nervous. Whereas I think on the 4 points, you're going to think you're going to go through. It would create the unlikely scenario though that all three teams could finish on 4 points, which that would pretty much destroy Croatia, wouldn't it? Because of the 3-0 defeat to Spain, would
yeah,
and therefore Spain would be all right. And then I guess Italy and Albania would go through. So if Italy draw tonight, they're probably going to feel like they've done enough, aren't they?
yeah, I think so.
Can
Um,
you foresee Croatia beating them?
in theory, just because I think like I'm not sure Italy are going to put anyone away. So it's just the whole if you stay in the game long enough, you can potentially get something. But there isn't much that I've seen from Croatia that makes me think, oh yeah, they're going to give Italy problems.
What's the best thing here for fantasy? Is it Italy winning? So we know we get a better indication of what the Spain team might be for those of us using the chip in match day 3.
I think so because I think there's better sort of particularly attacking options from Spain than Italy. Like not saying there are bad ones from Italy, but I think piling into Spain is the more attractive proposition, even if they were to lose today.
Yeah, and it's also worth saying if there is a winner in that game tonight as well, that's the group 1. Will be
Yeah.
guaranteed group winners because head to head is the first separator rather than goal difference. What did you make of Germany yesterday, Angus?
Um, I thought they were still good. I thought, it was probably good for them to see them come up against a little bit more of a fight than Scotland gave them in the first game. Um, they had a couple of sort of iffy moments, particularly on set pieces into the box, but I thought it also showed that the benefit they have of the number of quality players, particularly in attack, that you had a quieter game from Verts, but Gundogan really came to the fore and that sort of thing that makes them a really strong team in this tournament.
Yeah, I mean, the first thing to say is what a kit.
Yeah,
Definitely the first nation that's ever turned up in a purple and pink. I have nothing against it. It's just I'm looking at it, don't feel like I'm watching Germany here at all. But nice kit. It's like it felt like something I saw one of our patrons said it like of a T20 cricket match or something.
yeah,
Um I feel like from a fancy perspective, it probably became quite clear for us once we hit the knockout stage, subject to who they've got, what Germans we want. Like now it's Mittelstadt, Gundogan, Musiala. And it's not
yeah,
just on the returns. It's also obviously what happened to me with Wirtz and Havertz is the minutes, really. Musiala, I guess arguably he's one of the few players to play twice, but looks like he's going to be a real contender for player of the tournament. And this time the returns come for Gundogan. I spoke about his positioning, how much it like killed Scotland in the first half hour in the game on Friday night. But even in this one, you had times where Havertz was dropping into the 10 position. He was playing as the 9. So I feel like Gundogan at 7 and Musiala at 8.5 will feel like the way to go, I think, in the knockout stage. One really nice aspect of Germany, obviously going into match day 3, is we will see the team. So if they do rotate, we'll be able to go Fulkrug if we want, or Leroy Sané's in the team. And those of us on the chip will be able to take those sort of punts. Would it definitely be free Germany for you, like irrespective of what that team might look like?
I think so. I think there's enough quality options. I'm expecting a little bit of rotation. I think in general, I was discussing this yesterday. I think in general, club managers or quote unquote club managers are better for sort of rotating. Like I know rotating in game three is a thing, but I think they're better at sort of getting their rotations in. We've seen it with the early subs with Nagelsmann as well. And so I think the options they're rotating to are still interesting enough. Like if we see Leroy Sané and Nicholas Füllkrug in the lineup, you're probably going to want a bit of that. So I think it probably is still 3 from them.
They obviously still need to draw at least to win the group.
Yeah.
I wouldn't see them playing for a draw.
No.
I don't see that in this Germany team. I would say I do think there are vulnerabilities defensively, and I think Hungary showed that at certain points yesterday. And it'll be interesting to see, but it might not be till the quarterfinals that they play someone that's strong enough to really test them. They would be scheduled in the quarterfinals to play whoever wins. I think it's from Spain's group. I think it'd be scheduled to run into Spain in the quarterfinal. Obviously, should Germany finish runners-up in the group, if they lose to Switzerland, they would then play the runners-up from Spain's group. There obviously is a small possibility that if England cock themselves up today, that they're going to walk into Germany in the last 16. But I would imagine if it's not England, Germany would be quite happy to take whoever's second from England's group, and you wouldn't foresee a problem. In the round of 16, you'd be going for them again, wouldn't you? I mean, it's the point here.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, the prices are reasonable as well. I foresee when we hit the last 16, Musiala, Gundogan, and Mittelstadt being in a lot of teams. That's how I foresee it. Yeah, Hungary a bit unfortunate. They had their moments. I think the game had the right winner, but they had a couple of near misses and moments, and obviously Germany were really unlucky to lose the clean sheet on Friday. You might say they were a little bit lucky to keep it on this occasion. You obviously play Hungary next, Angus. Based on what you saw yesterday, fancy it? From Hungary, I mean.
Yeah, like in part coloured by what we'll come on to in terms of a better performance yesterday, but I do think there's vulnerabilities in them that it depends a little bit on the Scotland lineup. But I think actually some of the things Scotland were doing yesterday could actually give Hungary some problems based on what I saw in that game.
I.e., for example,
I think with them finally getting the midfielders pushing on a little bit closer to Che Adams, that it felt a little bit like they either weren't or struggled to like track midfield runners as well as you'd like. And so I think particularly, I mean, I'm going to bring him up if Scott McTominay is making those late runs. It's the sort of thing that, based on what I saw, I thought that might work. I mean, I'm still sort of like, I'm not expecting a win, but it was like, okay, I can see certain things that they might be able to work here.
So to clarify, you're saying you don't think you beat Hungary?
I'm not getting my hopes up. I'm just not.
Is that based on historical though? Because you must feel so much better today than you would have felt 5 days ago. And 5 days ago, I mean, it's been a big message all week. Germany were obviously very good. Yeah. Scotland were bad, and there was self-inflicted pain to the point that after Porteous' red card, you're probably just pleased that it's not got like extremely embarrassing and ended up like in 7s and 8s and stuff. Last night, you played a decent team, mate. Switzerland knocked France out of the last tournament. They're probably one of them that are probably an easier team to stop than beat. Might be a nice way to describe Switzerland, maybe. But it's a good result, mate. Would you have taken that before kickoff, the 1-1?
Yeah. So obviously at the end, it ends up feeling a little bit like, oh, could have had something from that. But I think when I was projecting a route for Scotland to qualify beforehand, I thought Scotland would get out of the group. It was lose to Germany, draw with Switzerland, beat Hungary. So that's still on the cards after last night.
Yeah, look, in Scotland's hands. I mean, it's interesting for the final day that obviously I think Scotland and Hungary both know that they're going to need to win. There is no circumstance here where Scotland are going to go through on 2 points with the goal difference of -4. 4 points is going to do it almost definitely. you'd be it would be so typical Scotland and so unlucky to hit the 4 points and still
Yeah.
go out because you've got a worse goal difference than everybody else. But surely that's going to be enough. And obviously, I think it will help in the sense that they've got to win as well. It's not like you've
Yeah.
got to beat them and Hungary will be content with a draw, which then puts all the initiative on you because they've got to take plenty of it themselves as well. So, yeah, much improved performance last night. I'm really pleased. I'm not into the whole hate Scotland stuff. Like, if you hit the semi-finals or something, the same with like Wales in 16. I'd be like, that's enough now. That you've
Yeah.
had your fun. That's enough. But I generally want Scotland to do well. One of the impressive things last night was 48% of the ball. How much of
Yeah.
a difference did having Billy Gilmore in there make?
Oh, massive. Just like I still don't really understand why he was left out the first game. And you could see probably within about 5-10 minutes of this game how much of a difference it made.
I saw someone say that it was always, no matter what had happened on Friday, Gilmore was always going to start last night.
Yeah.
Had you heard that as well?
I hadn't heard it, but it doesn't surprise me.
No, it's such an obvious change. Even look at the goal, which is a really nice breakaway. That moment it's coming to him looping, and he's got the composure to chest it rather than just hook it over his head or head it. It's like, no, I'm going to chest it. I'm going to bring it down, play, boom, and then you're off. I could just feel like almost any other player on the pitch just heads it on. And he probably is the sort of player, ironically, who doesn't want a head it because he's a bit shorter, but
Yeah.
actually is composed enough to bring it down. And then you're off and you use some of the strengths you've got, like Robertson's ability to obviously carry from deeper positions. As you said, McTominay again, although UEFA did want to take the goal off him somewhat bizarrely, he has got it now.
Yes.
So it's another muck that scored for Scotland in a major tournament. We think the reason they weren't going to give it to him is based on Fabian Schär making an intentional kick off the ball. Is the reasoning, but that's never been an own goal, was it?
No, no. Like if that's on target, even if the defender plays at it, it's always been a goal for the attacker.
Would you consider him on Limitless for free?
I mean,
Because
why not?
his goal scoring record is good, isn't it, for Scotland?
I think in the qualifying campaign he was only outscored by like 4 players.
Weren't
And
they like Ronaldo, Lukaku, and Kane, or like
something
something
like that,
bizarre?
yeah.
Yeah,
And then it was McTominay. Uh,
and then Mbappe,
but
something like that.
yeah, but it's just like, yeah, I mean, if I think if Scotland score a goal and it doesn't involve probably McTominay or McGinn, you're surprised. And so by that logic, I think he's popped up with the goal again, and yeah, I think he's worth a look.
Yeah, that would be the one to consider, wasn't it? If you do want to,
Yeah,
right, Scotland have got to win. I do want to go. Would you go him or Szoboszlai if you wanted involvement in the game? I think the other thing is as well. I think when we get to Sunday night, which is obviously the deadline for Matchday 3, there's going to be a lot of people going, well, I'm not sure if this guy's going to play. I'm not sure if this guy's going to play. And you will see the teams. And obviously, I think we could all say now that McTominay and Szoboszlai will obviously play. But
yeah,
I do psychologically, that will help a little bit, I think.
yeah. I think generally speaking, I would say Szoboszlai, just because he's so involved in everything. I I know McTominay is now taking corners, which I'm not a fan of. In part just because he's a big lad, and I'd rather him be in the box creating chaos
Well,
than
he's at his
attempting
best
to
doing
swing the
what he's
ball
done with
in.
the goal box crash, and I realise that's not so
Yeah,
likely to happen from a set play, but he has got an instinct for it. Even the shot he had
yeah,
blocked in the second half, which I think hit Che Adams, I think.
I
Like
think so. Yeah,
he's connected to it really well. It's going in.
yeah. And so
He's
for
got
that
that
sort of
instinct.
reason, yeah, I'd want him in the box, but he is on the set pieces. Um, no, I'm just going to say go with McTominay.
Okay, good man. So system last night was different.
Yeah,
I'm not sure what to think of John McGinn as a number 9, but largely I think it works. It's basically 5-2-1-2 with
yeah,
McGinn and Che Adams kind of as like almost like left 9 and right 9, and they'd go and defend those sides, and Tomley would go in between them and a kind of first line of press of 3. So it certainly wasn't. I mean, you were just hanging on without the ball basically against Germany. There was definitely intent here because of a weaker opponent as well to press higher up the pitch. I feel it had its good and its bad moments. Like the breakaway on the half-hour point all five of your attacking players went for the press in one corner and they played through you. I was like, oh my God, they're in so much trouble here. But actually, I thought the longer it went on, the more the press was controlled. Maybe once the adrenaline had kicked off a little bit more awareness of what was happening around. You've given yourselves a great chance now. Does that system stick for Hungary, do you think?
I think so. The personnel might change slightly, but I think that the system will probably be the same.
A few notes on the Swiss, who were nowhere near as good as against Hungary. Shaqiri with his dancing hips. I mean, what a finish that is. It's probably the fact that he's lost any bit of pace he had has made him decide to hit it because he probably gets closed down quite quickly. I mean, to paraphrase one famous Scottish commentator from past, you don't save those.
No, you really don't. You know, there's a tournament's actually started when Shaqiri scores the worldie.
He's scored in 6 consecutive major tournaments. I want to say, and I'm sure that the fanboys will come for me, but not even Ronaldo's done that, I don't think.
No, I think
he missed the World Cup.
he's the only one. He's the only one that certainly in the last 3 like World Cups and Euros combined, he's the only one.
When I say missed the World Cup, obviously he was there. I mean, maybe didn't score in one. What did you think of them on reflection, Switzerland?
They weren't quite as good as I expected, but I think they are one of those teams. They're they're set up to be solid, well organized, well drilled, all the things that you would say about Switzerland in any sort of tournament for the last sort of 15 years or whatever. They have some decent players. I think they struggled a little bit, probably with being the favourites.
Yeah, I wonder if they were shocked as well in terms of Scotland's approach. They may have well thought. I mean, in the first half hour for them against Hungary, they really dominated the ball and then caused themselves their own issues. I think they looked the superior team in that game until they got 2-0 in front. I just wonder if Scotland's approach really surprised them and they thought you'd go like quite low.
Yeah, I was slightly surprised with the attacking setup. I was slightly surprised as well that that Dua dropped out. Like it felt almost a little bit of an unnecessary change. And I wonder if that sort of thing had an impact as well.
Well, it was obviously part to get Shaqiri in the team, wasn't it?
Mm.
It's I don't know if they might have also thought, oh, with respect, they might have thought we can take that luxury with him against yourselves, whereas maybe they didn't for Hungary. Maybe they won't for Germany. I don't think, despite seeing the lineup, though, we'll be gambling on Swiss players on our limitless in Matchday 3, but they will certainly qualify. Obviously, if they finish second, they was said play the runner-up from Spain's group. So we'll probably know tonight if we think that's going to be Spain or Italy. I'm going to ask you a few questions, get the Scottish view on a few of the players from last night, Angus. Firstly, what is an Anthony Ralston?
I mean, he's an unserious footballer.
Is he at Celtic?
Yeah.
Does he play regularly?
No.
Okay. I mean, it's some pass for Shaqiri, and it must be said he wasn't the first Scottish player to make a dodgy back pass in that opening half hour or so. But yeah, he struggled, I felt. And I think people were over-egging it.
He's doing right.
Yeah. Struggling. You've been really unlucky with injuries in that position, haven't you?
Yeah, I mean, we're down to sort of third or fourth choice on that side, which particularly for a country like Scotland, you know, it gets significantly worse once you drop past sort of first choice or second choice. I'm still sort of, well, not surprised that it's him, but still sort of left thinking, really? Like, is there nothing else we could do?
What's the alternative?
I think the actual alternative would be James Forrest, who's more of a winger, but he's one of these sort of hard-working wingers who I think could probably do a job at right wing back, but I think he's probably the realistic alternative.
Yeah, that's interesting as well, because a lot of your shape actually within possession last night was to move Ralston into the right wing position and have Andy Robertson sit deeper on the other side and Tierney move alongside Hanley. So, I mean, from that sort of structure perspective, it's the side that you could get away more with an offensive player, basically. You spoke about being down to third and fourth choices, though. You are now at centre back as well. Porteous obviously suspended. And Kieran Tierney, unfortunately, his just career is just blighted by injuries. I mean, I assumed it was a hamstring when he first did it because that's looked like where he clutched himself. But when you actually see the way he pulled up so sharply, I wondered if it was a knee ligament. Have you heard anything yet?
I hadn't seen. I know there was speculation that it still might have been hamstring, and that actually the way it's done is just like
It was
stretched his
so sharp,
hamstring.
yeah.
But I haven't seen sort of anything yet on what it was. Yeah, it's unfortunate with him. It is that point where you're almost just like waiting for the next injury at this point. He'd done quite well in terms of the number of the qualifiers he'd actually played. It's just unfortunate in this situation that he's managed to pick up an injury.
So I presume now it'll be Hendry, Hanley, and McKenna for
I
Hungary.
think so.
What's the alternative if it's not?
I don't really want to think about what
No,
the
go on,
alternative
I do.
is.
Go on, it sounds fun.
Well, I assume Porteous is still suspended.
He kind of got a 1 game ban for that, mate.
I was just sort of thinking, like, surely he must still be
To
suspended.
be honest, you just sent him out the Allianz. No disrespect, with the historical performance Scotland have had, you might as well get on the plane, mate.
But yeah, I think it probably has to be those three. Because
Liam Cooper after that, isn't it?
Probably.
You sound thrilled at that prospect. Is there any chance he'd consider going to back four?
I think he'd consider it. I think there's probably some question marks about sort of any of the centre backs if he does that. I also think we just don't have enough quality in the wide areas. Like the trade off for the back four would be sort of get maybe another winger into the team, but I'm not sure there's enough there to sort of really want to do that either.
I think, Angus, it's a real shame that the tournament wasn't last summer.
Yeah.
Because I think you were on a hot streak at that point, having beat Scotland, Norway, and I'd said at the time I could see Scotland pulling off a Wales and hitting a quarterfinal, for example. Yes, I know Wales got to a semi-final. But it felt like the year just picked up where the form got lost. You had injuries all throughout the year. Many of the players haven't made it. We spoke about the position in Anthony Ralston's, the problems Anthony Ralston's position. What would it mean to the nation if Scotland do win on Sunday night?
Yeah, it would be incredible. I mean, I question at this point whether there's more Scots in Germany or Scotland.
It feels
there's
like there's a lot
that many people that's gone out there, and like I think this time there's a little bit more hope. Like the last Euros, it was like great, we finally made it back to a major tournament. Everything else is gravy. Like now there was a little bit more hope. It's why you saw people sort of coping so much when Scotland was struggling in the friendlies. So it was like, oh, but it's fine, like, and because there was an actual hope, and so I think that there would just be this sort of both just it wouldn't feel like it was all for nothing in terms of this great qualifying campaign. Like I think it would feel a bit of an anticlimax if it was then just group stage exit. But just to sort of almost get that historical monkey off the back as well of like making a knockout would just be incredible.
If Scotland make it through, will you get absolutely battered in the last 16 through sheer partying too much for a week? I mean, will it be almost like winning a trophy to get out the group, considering it's not been done before?
There will definitely be an element of that. I think the Scotland fans will certainly get battered. Whether
I mean on drink, by the way, not in violence.
Yeah, no,
just for clarity.
If you can guarantee there's one set of fans that are going to go to a place and drink well but not cause trouble, it's the Scotland fans. But
have you dared to work out who your likely opponent would be if you made it through?
No.
I mean, the most likely is Portugal.
Oh, that's fine. Grant Hanley against Cristiano Ronaldo. No problem.
No problem at all. Um, Angus, thank you so much, mate. Really enjoyed that. I genuinely hope Scotland do the business on Sunday night because I think it would be brilliant for the country. So many years without tournaments, and it's getting easier now to qualify, but get that monkey off the back of getting out of a group stage finally. I just think would be really, really great for the country. I don't know if you'll do it though, mate.
I'm not convinced.
No, I'm not
I'll
either.
be hopeful. I'll probably be sort of really hopeful by Sunday, but right now I'm not quite there.
Yeah, I'm more likely to go Szoboszlai than McTominay. Sorry, I've done the big build up and killed it there. That's the thinking. We'll probably cover that a little bit more tomorrow when Suj will be back with me as well. But Angus, you want to plug your stuff again before we finish up, mate?
Yeah, EFL Fantasy Podcast. We're doing content for the Euros, and then I think it's like 4 weeks from the end of the Euros to the Championship season, so we'll be straight into that as well. Also covering, as I said, the Super League, and Scottish Fantasy is now going to be on Gaffer as well, and I'll be doing a little bit around that as well.
Good
So
stuff.
keeping busy.
How often are you putting at the moment for Gaffer for the Euros?
It's just at the end of the sort of rounds of games.
Oh, so you'll have something out on Sunday.
Yeah.
Good stuff. Well, Planet FPL won't know because it's the weekend. So don't listen to us on Sunday. Listen to Angus. Are you with Dan or Jamie at the moment? Who's joining you?
Dan, we're hopeful of having Jamie at some point to come back, but he's been in Turkey having a great time. So
good stuff. Send the boys my regards. Angus, thank you very much. Good luck to Scotland. Cue music, please, man child.